Good morning and welcome to the craft room. I'm Ellie Barnes. We've had a fabulous week this week with school starting, going and catching up with friends that we haven't seen for a while, all the things you do when you're getting back into the norm and the swing of things. So I hope you have too. Today we're getting back into the swing of things and we're going to have a look at one of the new bundles from the mini catalogue called Memorable Blooms, and we're also going to look at some designer series paper that's currently on the exclusive online section of Stamping Up that's called Everyday Happiness, and we're going to combine the two and make a trifold card. So let's get down to the desk, get started and see what we can come up with. Oh, but before we do, are we going live in the right place? It's always important to find that out. Yes, we are. So we'll pop down to the desk and we'll get started and I'll show you what we've got happening today. Have a look at the roof. Just love to show my roof off. I don't really, but let's see if we can get this to sit today. Might have to go over a bit. Come on. That's looking pretty good. So I'm going to make sure that this is in place so that we can see you, or you can see what I'm doing. This is the Memorable Bloom set. It's got some wonderful foliage here, and we've also got some great sayings. I love this font, and I'm going to use that sentiment. You've been on my mind. In fact, I'm using a few. It's got so thanks so much, love and thanks, and I appreciate your thoughtfulness, but I'm actually using you've been on my mind, you are awesome, and you mean the world to me. And this is just a card for someone who is, you just want to send a note and say, how you doing? Are you okay? It comes with the dies. We have the dies to cut out each of the floral images. We also have some leaves. But the two bits I'm looking at today mainly are these two, which cut some beautiful patterns. And of course, this lovely, what is it? It's six-sided, eight-sided. It's an octagon. I was going to say it's a hectagon. It's an octagon. So we're going to have a look at these and concentrate on these two pieces, and you'll see how it all comes together as we get going. So I'll pop them aside. And we'll pop this out of the road and we'll bring in our designer series paper. Now this is the Everyday Happiness. And there's 4 of each piece. So this is the front and this is the back. And we're looking at the colours of Lost Lagoon. This is Wild Wheat, and it also has in it Granite Grey. I think that's all, just the Very Vanilla, Pretty Peacock, and Pecan Pie. So that's one sheet. I like this sheet. Actually, I feel it needs to go that way. I like both sides of this. There's the front, all stripes, and here is some floral images that's behind it. And I like this sheet. I love this too because I can see this being very versatile, both with scrapbooking and with card making. And that's the other side. So a lot of wild wheat in there, a lot of Lost Lagoon in there. So I'm starting with cardstock, basic white, and I'm using thick basic white cardstock to start with. And instead of cutting it like normal, I'm going to cut it lengthways at 14.8, which is the height of our card, and pop that aside for other projects. And I'm going to score the first line at 10 centimetres. And this is where it gets a little bit trickier. I'm actually going to score it just under 10 at 9.9. And then I want this one to be 9.8. And it's just over, it's actually 9.9. But I'm just going to take a millimetre or even less than a millimetre off so that when it folds in, it's not going to be a problem. So we'll pop that aside for a second. And we're going to fold this side in here. I'll get my bone folder. And this side in here. So there's our trifold. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is cut some more paper. And I've already, as you know, I do a trial run. I've already got some paper. I just have to trim it to size. So I'll trim both of these to 14.8, sorry, so that it fits my card. And they're both 10 centimetres exactly. So, first thing I'm going to do is place this card piece, this piece here, and glue it on. Oh, come on, glue. I meant to grab out it. Actually, I'm going to do that. I was going to grab a new glue today because I've been using up all the little bits and I could spend half the day shaking the glue. They're both beautiful sides of the paper, so you could use either side, but I'm using this side. Oh, we'll do that there. Oh, it's a little bit, there we go. We want it to fit perfectly on the front. So that's the front of my card. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out that spot there. I'm also going to cut out, and I'll show you how. I want this to be here, but if I put it here, it's not going to have this lovely pattern on it. So I'm going to cut it after and then glue it, and I'll show you how we're going to match that up. I'm not worried that this has come over slightly. I will trim that once I've got everything finished. So we're going to cut that one and that one, and while we're at it, I'm going to cut a piece of this so that we get a lot of our cutting done. I'm going to bring in this piece of paper. It's got the glue lid back on. And I'm going to cut out one of these. And I also need another one of these on white. So I'll just cut those to size so we can quickly do them and have space around each one so we can put more than one thing through at a time. I just rough cut them. And this one I need this piece. I like this bit of paper here. Now, also, while we're going to have to cut the emboss machine in, once I've cut this one out, I'm going to emboss it with the Layered Florals 3D embossing folder. So we'll have that ready to go as well. So we've got a fair few cuts, but it will only take a moment. So we'll bring this in. And let's just do this one. And while we've got it, we can do this one. So we've got two going through at once. Now I can move that across a bit more. should have put one of my mats down so it doesn't slip. So we have this one we'll put aside to emboss. And we have this one. Ellie, you did that wrong. I didn't leave enough room. In fact, there is a different way to do that. We'll do that one again. Sorry, I made a mistake. I did this when I was doing my rough draft too. Let's keep going with this one. Now it's got to go through like so I don't cut all the layers. So that's going to go there. Just up a little bit. Oh, no, I do want it more towards the middle. Let's do that one. And I don't want to go all the way through, and because I've got the card hanging out the end, so we'll just do that. Go back. And that can be used on another card, or you could put it on the front of the envelope or something. I'm just going to pop that aside. I'll pop that aside for a minute. I need one of these. So we'll pop that up with this one. And then I want to show you how I'm going to get this one. I want it to match up with this, but to be on this side. I want it to have that lovely pattern. So I'm going to place this over, exactly over the pattern here. I want the cut on this side, so I'm going to place it upside down. No, I'm not. I'm going to place it up the right way. No, I did. No, it can go upside down, I think. We'll find out if I'm right or wrong here. I'm just not sure it's going to work. But I now know exactly where I want this to sit. So I've lifted it up. That doesn't look even straight, does it? Well, try again, Ellie, try again. You mucked it around when you were umming and ahhing. You've got to think about this again. That's got to go all the way to the edge and go here. And then we're going to lift this up, and that's where we're going to cut. So we're going to pop that on here. I'll move this out of the road so you can see what I'm doing. I've got that popped up there. I'm going to pop that through. Now, if it doesn't work, it did it when I did the other cut. So let's see how I go. Okay, how'd we go? We'll pop this to the side again. Did this work? Does this fit the card? Doesn't fit it that way, does it? No. It's got to go there. Oh, that doesn't fit at all. It's moved. Maybe it does have to go that way. It's not perfect. It's not perfect, but we'll make it do. Okay? So that's got to be glued on, but before we do that, we've got a few other steps. So that's another piece we can put aside and do something with another time. And let's just grab out another piece of Lost Lagoon and do this again, I need it this size first. And you'll see why when we cut. This is, I forgot about this bit. So we're going to put that on and we're going to put that in the middle. And this is the magic we're going to come up with. Now, if I wanted to, I could have just cut that in the front of the card. And you would get a whole card front with that image. But I'm actually putting a frame around it. So let's give this a go. And here she comes. Now, we're going to pull the centre piece off and pull that off. I have little bits I'm yet to take off. We're going to pull this piece off, and now we have a frame with the floral images in it. So we'll pop all this aside. I'll clean up my dies after. Pop them in my die tray. Now those that don't have a die tray, that's just a magnetic tray that holds everything together. I'm going to pop that aside. And I need to put this through the embossing folder. So I'm just wanting it to have lots of flowers on it. So I'm finding part of the image that has lots of flowers. It doesn't have to be any particular position. And I'm going to pop that through and emboss that. So that not only have you got that pretty paper with, I mean, you could make that paper with just blender brushes and a little stamp that has a few dots on it, but it's great that we've got it already prepared for us. There we go. And that gives us that image. I'll hold it up. So that gives us the beautiful colours, plus it gives us those lovely dots in there. So let's get rid of some of these things because we've ended up with stuff everywhere, so that we can start looking at how we're going to pull all this together. The next thing we're going to do is, where did I put my white paper? Take out a piece of white paper and we're going to do some stamping. And the first thing I'm going to stamp is this large image of flowers. So we'll just pop those pieces up there. We will need them. I'm stamping, instead of with black, I'm taking one of the colours grey granite. Now when I colour, there will be a little bit of blending or bleeding of the image, but not very much. So there's my image. And while I've got my ink open, I'm going to stamp You've Been on My Mind. And I'm taking colours just from the paper. So I've got Wild Wheat blend pens, and I've got Lost Lagoon. And I've got both light and dark. And the reason I'm using both light and dark is not that I'm actually going to do true shading. What I want to do is I'm going to use dark for the little leaves. So I'll just quickly colour those. And it's really just a matter of giving it a quick dab. Now you could use light and dark on each of the images, each part of the image, but I'm going to do dark for one set of leaves, and the bigger leaves I'm going to do in light. That's Light Lost Lagoon. And I will do shading with the flowers using the wild wheat. Now these colours sometimes don't lend themselves to cards that you would perhaps send a lady or a woman, female, however you want to describe. But I actually think they work well together. It's a nice muted colours. And don't be afraid to turn your paper when you're colouring. It does make it easier. And so they're the darker leaves. And then I'll come back with this one for the lighter ones. These great big leaves. So there's a little bit of variation in colour. Just along here. 2 more to go. And that way you've almost got 2 colours really into this already. Well, it's the same colour but 2 shades of it. And then for the flowers, I'm going to do them all over in the light wild wheat. Couple more here. Are you prepared for today's heat or the heat wave we're having down here in Victoria? I think everyone's having a bit of a heat wave in the country. I'm staying in the aircon, I can tell you that now. And then on the backs of the leaves that show forward, like here where they curl up, I'm just putting a little bit of the dark, and in the centre. And also petals that perhaps are behind. You can just dab the centre. And it just gives it a bit more of a 3D look. Like so. So that's that flower done. Losing everything off the desk again. That happens some days, doesn't it? So I'm going to, we don't have to fussy cut this, so I will bring in the cut and emboss machine in a sec to cut that one. I do have to fussy cut this one. Now, I find when I'm fussy cutting, if I cut it out first, I have something smaller to start with. And then I can just go in and around. And I'm not dealing with big pieces of paper. And it's just a matter of following the curves. And as you know, it's turning the paper while you, gently, don't cut the end off, Ellie. while you're gently moving the scissors closed. Just gently squeezing. And look, if you haven't done a lot of fussy cutting and you think, oh, I couldn't do that, it is actually something that really does take practice. I used to be dreadful at it. I don't know that I'm that great at it, but I've got better. So don't be afraid to give it a go. And you can also, if you get to the end and you think, oh, that bit doesn't look good, you might be able to re-trim it. So don't think, oh, I'll never be able to. It just does take a bit of practice and a bit of patience. And you see, I don't like that end. I'm going to trim it a bit. And there's that, ready to go. So we've got another piece ready to go. We'll quickly bring back in the cut and emboss machine and cut these flowers out. Now I do have bits left on here. Quickest way, go like this into your rubbish bin and that'll get them off. And we get these out ready, make the sandwich. If you haven't seen these dies, it has a little hole here. You place that on the stem. Now I have to stand up and look down because I've got to be able to see. The stem needs to be coming through that hole. And then that gives you a guidance of where it goes. Now I've got it too high, so I need to come down a bit so the flowers are in. Check the stem's in still. Yes, it is. Oh, Ellie, when you're lifting your... That's it. Now we go through. Let's see how well I did. We'll pop this over here. Well, did better than I thought I might. So there you go. That's how you line it up with. Line your stem up and then check round your flowers that they're sitting okay. So let's bring some of these pieces together. The first thing I'm going to do is glue. No, I'm not going to glue that on. I've forgotten one more piece. I needed to do I have a spare piece or do I need to cut a piece? I think I need to cut a piece. I've already used up my spare piece. I need to cut out a piece of these flowers that are going to go on the back and cover up my colouring in. So rather than, again, bring the cut and emboss machine in, because I want it this side up, but I want it to be that way, if I cut it this side up, it's the wrong way. You can see just from here, those two match up with those two. So I'm going to turn it over and cut out of this side. Hope that makes sense, but I'll show you once I've cut it. So I'll quickly do that over the side here. Well, back and forth with the machine. Right. So there it is, it's cut out. We'll pull it out. Now, that side doesn't match up, but now the side I want to match up does. And so I'm just going to glue that on there so that when you open the card and this is hanging through the side here, you actually get a nice piece of paper. So that was the reasoning for that. Now, because it's going to be hanging in spots, I'm going right round the edge, just with a very narrow strip of glue and including the stem. We need it to sit exactly on top. Okay, that's that bit. While that dries, we'll start putting this together. So this piece is going on here. And again, we want it to match all the way up. And we will take our pick and push out some of these that didn't come out. Oh, and that's just not the one, that's one. Right, all those are done. Push that aside. And we're going to glue this over the top of this. Now, yes, it's quite a thick piece, but I wanted it thick because I wanted it to sit into, I've got a bit much glue on that side, into the opening when it's closed. Just some little bits of glue here and there so it stays. Some on the tips here. You could I just do a few little. It's not even much, it's just where I've touched a bit of glue elsewhere and just dropped it so that it just is enough to give it a bit of stick. And then we just pop it on like so. So that's ready to go. Now, when I close my card, I want that in there. Actually, I want it that way. So the easiest way for me to glue that onto there is do it through the front. And then I know it's going to be able to sit inside the opening exactly where I want it. Now, part of my little surprise for this card is I want to cover that up. And I found it really hard to work out where to put the glue because they're only tiny little bits. So, to protect underneath, in case any glue came through, I put my rubber, what is it? It's a rubber mat for doing gluing on and projects. And then I just, on the tips of a few places, put some glue, knowing that a lot of it does not actually touch the edge. Yes, I did do the right side. And so if I just hold that for a minute, and then I grabbed a wipe in case any glue came through, and it didn't. I did a better job this time. And so now that just sits over. So that's a bit of a surprise, that part, because that just looks like some leaves and things that are underneath. So let's do some more decorating. We have to bring in this piece and glue it here. Now, I didn't do a great job, but it's not too bad. It's not too bad. It's just slightly out. Yeah, we can live with it. What do we say? It's not Hallmark. I'm sort of juggling it. A little bit white showing there, but not too bad. And I have a little bit, where's my scissors gone, of the underneath card showing here. So I am just going to trim that. Oh, and we've got a bit showing here. Didn't do a good job at all, but that's the gist of it. Of course, I would have a bit showing there because I've got a bit showing down the bottom. Oh well. It's not too bad. It sits all right. Now, on this side, I want to do a bit of decoration. So I'm going to bring that in. Put my lid on my glue. And I'm going to bring in Lost Lagoon and my blender brush. And I'm just going to put some Lost Lagoon on these corners. And this one I need to do here, like so. Oh, that was a bit thick, Ellie. That was silly. Didn't do a good job, did I? And this one I've got to fold again. Oh well. Now while that's open, I'm going to also bring in this leaf stamp, and I'm just going to stamp on the corners. And we'll do the same on this side. So we've got that much done on this side. Inside here we need to, I really should have my mat underneath us. We need to do some work too. And I'm actually going to stamp this one in this corner. And I'm going to open up Lost Lagoon also. Not Lost Lagoon, Wild Wheat. And I'm going to bring this stamp in, a nice floral one that matches the front. And I'm going to pop this one up here. Now for words, what am I going to do? I'm using wild wheat, and I'm going to stamp down here, "You are awesome." And I'll use Lost Lagoon and stamp up here, "You mean the world to me." Well, it looks a bit funny, doesn't it? Oh well. Now we will do again some more colouring over this leaf. We'll do a little bit over the words just to blend it in. And over the other side, we're going to use some wild wheat over this flower. And a bit over the... And we'll go down just a tad. And down here, we might just bring in just a little bit of Lost Lagoon. And over here, perhaps just a little bit of wild wheat. Not a lot, just to give it a bit of colour. But I still want to put a little bit more in. So I'm going to stamp off and off, and I'm going to stamp it. So I'm stamping off twice. So it's very, very pale. And I'm going to do the same with the leaves. So we've just got this pale, pale floral image all the way around. And we're going to bring that back to this side. Now at this time I'm only going to stamp off once and just put my flower up here just to bring some of that wild wheat into that page. So that's basically the card done, except we've got to add the greeting on the front and bling. And do we need bling? We do. So the first thing I'm going to do is put some of this beautiful, now this is the gold, gold, what do they call it? They call it open weave trim. I'm going to cut a piece, well that even might be a bit big. Yeah, we're going to fold it in half. So I'm folding it half lengthways, so it doubles up. And then I'm putting it like so. And it's going to go there. So I'm just going to put the block there to hold it while I get some tear and tape. And we can trim the edges after we've got it in place. So we'll put the tear and tape here. And we want it about there. And then I'm bringing in just 2 dimensionals to hold the greeting. And that's just going to go a little bit up and over everything. Just press that down onto the greeting. I've got it a bit high because the dimensionals have gone over the edge, and I don't want that because otherwise they'll stick down. So it's up a little bit. It's sitting roughly where we want it. So I'm just going to do a bit of a cut there. And let's bring in some Winker Stella. So I'm just going to Winker Stella the big leaves. We don't need all this mess underneath it. And the flowers. Just to give it some sparkle. And then, I want it to hold down for me for a bit. I'm just going to squeeze a little bit into the cap. Oh, and it missed the cap and it got on the picture, which is not what we wanted. Oh, well. There's a spot for a dimensional. And I'm just going to give it a bit of a flick so that it's got some little sparkly specks all over. And I also want them all over this hexagon. And I'm just going to add some sparkle into here and the big leaves. I'm not being too precise, I'm just giving it a little bit of a zhuzh. Is that the right word for this? Zhuzzing. And we'll do the leaves and flowers on the inside too. And on the front, let's get some diamantes. Well, not the diamante ones. We're going to use rainbow adhesive back dots because they have some Lost Lagoon, and we're going to use the brushed butterflies. Now they're from the online store, the brushed butterflies. I think I'm going to put a big butterfly over this bit of mess here. How's that? It's a bit wet, but he'll stay. And then we'll pop a couple of little butterflies on these flowers. We'll pop one up here. And I'll pop one over here. And then I'm also going to use some of these. I'm going to pop a big one here to help hold that ribbon down. I'm going to close this and pop one in here. I'll pop one down here. Pop a big one up here. And a small one here. Actually, we might pop that one just a little bit higher. Like so. And that's it. That's my card. So this is actually, I'll just clean that blotch up, more blotched. This is actually going to a girlfriend in, well, she's actually family in England who's having a bit of a rough time. Just to let her know that we're thinking of her and that. So I wanted space that I could write a fair bit, but something that's pretty that she can stick on, you know, up so she can see it and know that it's something special that was sent to her. So that's my card for today. As I said, you can easily do a card out of any colours for girls or guys. You just have to work with it and work out how you're going to do it. All right, that's taken us a bit longer than I thought it might, but we're back. Let's come back to me. There we go, we're back. Hopefully you enjoyed that and it's inspired you to have a look at some of these things in a different way. As I said, the colours may not be instantly what you would think of for a card for a lady, but it certainly has come up the way I wanted it to look. It's soft and it's subtle, but it's still very feminine. All right, have a lovely, lovely day. Try and keep yourself cool if you can, and I will catch up with you next week with something else exciting as we head into February. Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.